Hello, and welcome to the Business Growth Show, where I interview successful entrepreneurs on all areas of business and how to utilize them for exponential growth. My name is Nathan Cassiotis. I'm a business growth expert, investor, and international speaker where I help business owners grow and scale to create wealth and freedom. Today, I have an awesome guest. Her name is Anna Shepherd, and she's a talented, hardworking, and determined and relentless in the pursuit of any goal. Having lived in 4 countries by the age of 20, Anna is a true citizen of the world. She's also ticked off most of the Australian major cities as places of residence, but if she had to pick a favorite, she would gladly say Brisbane is home. And she instinctively knew the power of video marketing, especially when paired with her emotive and memorable film style honed through years of practice. And through experience, Anna has learned enabling businesses to tell their story was rewarding. She loved it, and her passion led her into the content agency's world, where she constantly pushed herself to produce the best quality marketing and storytelling for her clients, sharing her talents with those around her and mentoring others. And she quickly rose the ranks in the multimedia scene, becoming one of the youngest directors to have her own TV show on Foxtel, since she has directed, filmed, produced, and executed TV shows and countless successful marketing campaigns with a focus on travel, leisure, luxury goods, and adventure. And now she's slowly building an empire dedicated to high-end, top-quality digital marketing. Through careful selection, Anna surrounded herself with a team of media and digital professionals, each with their own set of specialized skills. Welcome, Anna Shepherd, and thank you for being on the Business Growth Show.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. I'm sure it's going to be a great show for everyone watching and listening today. So you're a successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, just introduce yourself by telling us a bit more about you and your journey.
Yeah, so my journey probably started when I was 16 years old and I got my first job in video. Now, it was probably the worst job you can have in video because I was making videos for funerals. And what that was, it really taught me the power of storytelling. So what there were videos and slideshows we would create about people's lives, about who they were, what they were, that they would show at funerals. And I guess as sad as the job was, for me, I found it really rewarding because I got to learn so much about people's stories, so much about people's journeys throughout life. And I realized that there's no story, not not any story is the same. Everyone is super unique. So I guess that really sparked the passion for me about being able to tell people's stories and being able to share it with the rest of the world. From there on, I suppose, I've done the whole, the university route. I studied journalism, I studied languages. And initially, I thought that I would go into the world of hardcore journalism. But I suppose ambitions change, and I kind of just naturally fell into the world of video production, the world of the world of leisure and entertainment. And I, to be honest, don't regret that at all. I've had some of the most fun jobs in the world, I'd say.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. Awesome background. And yeah, so interesting, right? The power of storytelling, and where it all started for you and then how you've now able to, put that into a lot of different industries and area from there. So let's get into it now. And I love the topic of storytelling. So firstly, like, why is storytelling so important and powerful?
Well, I think, like I said to you before, everyone has a story, and especially in a business sense, in the business world, there's always this moment in every person's journey, in every person's business journey, when they decide that there's a problem to be solved. And for me, that moment is really, really important. So, they're walking around looking at this world and they see something's not quite right. And they decide to create a business that addresses that problem, that addresses fixes that problem. And so for me, that part of the story, that sort of I guess that view of the world, of trying to make it better, of trying to create something that doesn't exist, that's probably something that inspires me the most in terms of business storytelling.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. And yeah, very powerful. And I guess let's go back a bit, right? Like when did it begin? And I guess are there some studies and stuff that have been done, on storytelling as well?
Absolutely. So I guess talking in the business sense, there's a lot of studies that are done around storytelling, and there's stats like, you know, people are 70% more likely to follow your business and buy from you if you have a good story, a good business story behind you. So to me, that's a really powerful statistic. Now, there's even statistics saying that, 10% of people, when they connect to your story, will buy from you straight away, will buy your product, which in a statistical sense means that, if 10 people watch a video of your company journey online, if 100 people, watch that video, 10 people will actually buy from you straight away. So for me, that sort of opened up a whole new perspective of how we can use storytelling to help businesses promote their product, to help them, help people solve those problems and actually enable people I guess get the best of what's out there for them.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Love that. Yeah, definitely powerful. Big stats there. 10% is massive, right? In business. So love that. And I guess it's changed through history, right? Because this storytelling's been around for a long time, but I guess it's changing, I guess, now, right? Compared to what it was back then, I guess now with being more of a digital age that we're in, right?
Oh, absolutely. So actually, when you look at storytelling from a scientific perspective, scientists actually define it as an intrinsic human characteristic, which basically means that, we tell stories. That's a part of what we do as human beings. It's how we connect. It's how we pass on messages from generation to generation. And so, but in terms of that change that's happening now, you can think about centuries ago, people would tell stories through rock paintings. We've got a lot of Aboriginal art around Australia that people come and go to, and that's a form of storytelling. Uh, Very sort of a visual one, which I find actually quite interesting because we've kind of from rock art, we've then moved on to communication be a lot more verbal, spoken, written. And now we're at the age where we're again a lot more visual. So, we say video is king. So now we're back to being those beings that are communicating very highly and very effectively through the means of visual communication. And for me, that's always video. So yeah, there's a little bit of interesting a stat for you there, I guess, to think about. In the terms of in terms of digital marketing, though, I suppose if you look at businesses and you look at product marketing, well, a lot of it is done through social media these days, and we all know that video is something that absolutely dominates the world of digital media marketing. Not only because it tells 1,000 words, or a picture tells 1,000 words. Well, if we calculate it at a rate of 50 frames per second, well, that's 5,000 words per second. But no, it's just a tool to allow people to connect to something really, really quickly. You can create an emotion really, really quickly to a product or to a service that your clients might actually, they need it. So it's a very effective tool for businesses to drive their growth and to drive their business forward.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. I love that. And, we're talking storytelling here. We're going to get more into some stuff on storytelling now, but do you want to maybe share a story, right? So that, because obviously you're into it, that maybe shaped your business journey or something like that, just very quickly, to get people to have a little bit of a thoughts around, oh, well, this is compelling me or something like that, right? In terms of, how it's delivered.
In terms of how it's delivered, well, we actually have systems on how we deliver stories. And it's something that I teach as a part of what we offer to our clients. But in terms of the actual delivery of the story, we operate under the CHOP principle. So the CHOP principle, the first letter C actually stands for care. So one of the first questions that people should ask themselves when they're trying to tell a story is, why would people care about it? What sort of connection can they create from that particular story? H stands for hook. Hook is the most interesting part of your story. So something that is going to grab people. Then we go on to O, and O is your origin. And this is something I've spoken about previously. So, where does your story come from? Where did it start? What happened? What motivated you to start a business? Because everyone has that one moment in history when they realize that this is something that the world needs, and they come up with an idea and they start something. And P stands for personality. So every business, every brand, regardless who you are, needs a little bit of a personality that people can connect with. So we use that CHOP principle to try and tell all of our clients stories to make sure that they're quite compelling, they're quite interesting. As to telling a story and telling my story, I suppose I can start with my entrepreneurial journey and when I started my business, Meerkat Creative. I'll start with telling you that I started this agency business in the middle of 2020, and people might say that it's a little bit crazy to start a tourism and luxury products oriented business, content business in the middle of the global pandemic. But at that time, it was the right time for me. I felt like it was the right time. A lot of businesses were going through a lot of hardship, and I just knew that I had to help them communicate more effectively online, communicate visually to their clients online, so that they could not only grow and stay on their trajectory, but actually prosper. We knew that the pandemic was going to end, and so that when the pandemic ended, we wanted to make sure that everybody was ready to hit the ground running, with all of their content ready, with their clients lined up. And that's what ended up happening with a lot of our clients. So for me, I started the business in 2020, and we grew really, really rapidly from there on. We've more than doubled every year since inception. So for me, that's a big achievement, but that's not something that stops me from going every single day. So I guess that's a little bit of my story for you. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you for that. I like the chop one. Easy one to chop straight through the market or something like that to get, into it.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the idea, with the amount of communication that we get faced with every single day. You kind of have to chop through all that bullshit that we have to read through and cut through all that information overload and get your point across. So that word resonated with us, and we created a system around that to allow people to tell their stories effectively.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. And I guess that there's different ways of telling stories, right? So you talked about like the origin side of things, which is obviously extremely important, right? Of how you got to somewhere. You can also tell stories that can reinforce something, right? If you're trying to, teach, train, or something like that, right? To get a point across to somebody, even if it's whether it's business, even a child or something like that, you can tell a story, right? Which helps to allow that to sort of ingrain that, where it's important on that point. So how do you decide this, like in terms of what to tell, when to tell them, things like that, to, I guess, enhance something of a point, that maybe you wanted to get across as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're 100% correct there, saying that we use stories every day to communicate and to sort of influence the world around us. And storytelling is actually directly connected to decision making. People do make decisions based on lots of different things. Some of us make decisions based on facts, or all of us would like to think that we make decisions based on facts, but we know that it's not necessarily true. There's people that make decisions on emotions. If there's accountants that are listening to the show, they'll say we make decisions purely based on numbers. But in reality, a lot of there's a lot of reasons of why we make certain decisions in our lives. But at the end of the day, the the whole point of that decision comes down to what story we decide to tell ourselves about that decision, and what story we decide to tell our friends, family, our close ones about what we're trying to achieve in life. And depending on how well we tell that story, we can actually get people to either agree with us or not agree with us. So looking at it from that perspective, you could sort of see that in terms of storytelling, it's directly related to how successful we are in our business career and our even personal relationships. So I guess the main point is for me in any story is to be able to paint a picture. So when you're trying to reinforce something that you're talking about, one of the ways that's really powerful to connect with people is to either paint a picture about the future. So it's that what if question. Imagine if right now you're on an island in Whitsundays, what would you feel? And straight away people can sort of I guess it opens their mind up to thinking and imagining things, and that's a really powerful way to connect to your audience, regardless whether they're your customers or just your child that you're trying to convince of doing something. And another way of connecting to people and trying to convince them is giving examples. So, for example, you're trying to argue with a 5-year-old, they're screaming, they don't want to go to school or something, and you're kind of saying to them, well, remember that time this happened? Well, these were the consequences, and you're kind of giving them an example of what might happen if they don't listen to you. So, and it doesn't have to apply to a 5-year-old child. The same thing can apply to trying to sell a product. You give people an example of how the product might be useful to them. And I guess that becomes then a choice or another what if statement, whether they decide to go with your product or service. Well, then there's a what if situation. And if they don't, well, what if they don't? And so for me, that's probably, in terms of trying to convince people, that's that those are the two most powerful ways of how you tell a story in that sense.
Yeah, nice. I love that. And yeah, I like the example before you were talking about, people buying a lot more off emotion. Obviously, there's reinforcing with logic depending on how right brain or left brain, the person is there. Just an intriguing thing that it came to mind is like, because you obviously do a lot of videos, production, create content, you can obviously help people to bring their story out. What happens if you're working with someone that's very left brain, whether it's an accountant or someone like that, right? And so very logical and methodical, but maybe needs to express themselves more emotionally, right? To get that emotional connection instead of sounding like a robot or something like that, when they're telling the story, because maybe they're used to speaking very left brain. So is there I love the couple of tips you just shared, but is there something else that people should be thinking about or feeling or something that gets that other side of them out that will make it more compelling, I guess, for people to listen to as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I suppose there's a reason why a lot of people that I work with, a lot of people that I hire, have actually got a background in journalism. And journalists are very highly trained people in terms of trying to get that story out of business owners. And like you said, a lot of the people that we work with, they don't necessarily come from background of doing multimedia or doing interviews or talking about their products. So a part of the skill set that I know I have to provide to every client is someone who's able to talk to them in the sense of, guiding them in the direction of how to tell their story that would be compelling and interesting to their audiences. Look, there's a few ways to do it, and a lot of the times it is to do with getting the person a little bit more relaxed and actually telling them to share their story in a way that they remember it. So when we're sort of trying to chronologically remember certain things that happened, we're thinking in our sort of the way our memory works. We're thinking in that right brain because we're trying to think of the pictures of what was happening in that moment. What did you feel in that moment? What did you do when this happened? Oh my God, end of financial year 2022, what happened then? What did this mean for you? And so by asking these kind of questions that um, get you to remember certain things that were happening at a certain point in time in your life, help you sort of navigate that storytelling angle towards that sort of more engaging right brain activity, rather than trying to use a very logical structured way of conversation. Not to say that the logical and structured way is wrong. Sometimes when you are trying to talk about accounting or about law, you do have to provide that side as well. So imagine you wouldn't want to hire an accountant that's all just about, it's about right, it's about 15%, I'm not really quite sure, but yeah, roughly that. So you have to make sure that there's a nice balance. But this is where you really when you're talking about storytelling, or you're preparing for that particular execution, you have to have that pre-interview chat, pre-project conversation, where you say, what is the point of this? Why are we doing this in the first place? What was the message we're trying to communicate? And that brings us back to the CHOP principle. With the first C is why should people care? And so you start with that care factor, like what should they care about? Why should they care about it? And so if why they should care about is because it's going to save them 20% in taxes each year, well, maybe that number does have to be very precise, and we do have to talk about it in a logical way. But the reason why they would care is very emotional, because obviously saving money and saving on taxes is something that is quite relevant to every business owner. And finding ways to be able to maximize your returns on investment into the business, that's something that's quite emotional for every business owner. So there's a fine balance between when you're talking about exacting businesses, things that are to do with accounting and law, you have to make sure that you're sounding very structured and very well versed in being able to deliver the exact numbers, but at the same time still connecting to your audience on that care level of what's it going to do for them. And we're back to the what if, what's going to happen when we decide to go over that particular service.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. Really, really powerful stuff there. Let's talk about, in terms of integrating this storytelling into our marketing, right? Because a lot of people might just think, oh, I'll put it on my website, right? Or, oh, yeah, the social media, like you mentioned, like I can sort of create a video out of it. So maybe, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the means, or like from an organic sense, even from an ad sense, or maybe even from a partnership sense, right? About how we can just, where we can put this story, right? In these little mediums where we can get a lot more than what we think that, just putting in one or two places, for an example there, in terms of putting that message out there to people.
Yeah, absolutely. This is actually probably one of my favorite things to talk about. And one of my favorite, the reason why it's one of my favorite things to talk about is because when people think about marketing, a lot of different people think about completely different things. And the truth is, there's no right or wrong understanding of what marketing is. It's just the fact that marketing can be so many different things. So, word of mouth is marketing. So, when you're telling your family about a restaurant you went to, that's a form of marketing. They've been able to persuade you. They provided a service that's so great. They persuaded you in that way to tell your family and friends to come and go and check out that restaurant. But at the same time, putting a billboard somewhere in town is a form of marketing, and so is Facebook social media advertising, so is your website, so is printing brochures, attending events, doing podcasts. All of that is marketing. And one of the biggest reasons why I actually decided to create a content production agency is because marketing can be a lot of things and can be understood as a lot of things, but you can't do any single one of those things without having content. And so for me, this is where we plug in our content production abilities into every single part of what marketing can be. You can't design a billboard without having graphic design content, without having photos. You can't print a brochure without having the copywriting, without having some beautiful photos that would inspire people. But the same goes for video advertising, TV advertising. So actually nailing that content part of it is critical, regardless what type of marketing you decide to do. And for me, it's actually very important, and this is something I talk to clients a lot about as well, is that you have to nail your messaging, and you have to make sure your messaging stays the same across all the mediums. So you will have businesses that will concentrate on multiple marketing channels, and so they should. That is the best advice that you could give to anyone starting out a business. You have to make sure that you don't just market in one spot. You don't just use word of mouth. You don't just use Facebook advertising. You have to do all of it. And the way that our brain works is that once we start to see a brand or a product everywhere across all of our channels, that's when we sort of develop that level of trust for that brand. So imagine you know how these things work in the digital world. You Google something and all of a sudden you're surrounded by that particular thing. Well, it doesn't just magically happen. It actually happens for a reason. There's online algorithms that make sure that once you Google something, you're seeing that service or product through Facebook. You're seeing it in your emails. I mean, you don't really control things like billboards and things that are surrounding you in the physical world, but certainly online, all of a sudden that thing starts popping up everywhere for you. And the reason for that is that the more places we see a thing, the more trust we have in that particular product or service. And obviously that plays well with for the business that's trying to promote that service. In saying that though, you have to always make sure that your messaging stays the same across the multiple channels. Because imagine if on social media you saw something that's $99, and then all of a sudden in your email marketing that same thing costs, I don't know, $250, and you're looking at it and it's exactly the same thing. That's how you very quickly lose trust if your messaging differs from channel to channel. So for me, I concentrate on content and creating content that you could spread throughout all the different marketing channels that you decide to go down. But at the same time, we'll make sure that all of that content and all of that messaging is the same across every channel that you might target.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, definitely very important with the messaging and being consistent across all the platforms. A lot of the time we learn a lot more from failure or challenges, right? Through our journey. So do you want to maybe share from, when you've worked with clients or what you see online, and maybe some common mistakes or some challenges that you're seeing people doing when they're trying to tell their story, which is not necessarily connecting, so that people, I guess, don't make, those mistakes, ideally down the line?
Look, I think I don't really want to talk to you about my clients' failures, just purely because I don't really want to emphasize that. And besides, our clients don't fail. We only work with successful businesses. No, but I will tell you about my own. So originally, I actually decided to start a business in 2012, a marketing agency, and that was off the back of gaining quite a bit of success through producing the TV show on Foxtel, and gaining momentum through that. And I was 23 years old, and I thought that the world was just going to welcome me with its arms open and just give me everything that I need. And so I registered a business name. I called it AP Productions. Very original, I know. It's just the first two letters of my name back then. And I thought, okay, well, the inquiries are going to start flooding in, and I'm just going to be so successful. I'm not going to need to do anything about it. I've just got to kind of, just print a couple of business cards and tell the world, here I am. You've been waiting for me for so long. Well, to be honest, that didn't work quite that way. And now looking back at it, I'm not surprised at all. So I think one of the biggest takeaways, and the reason why it didn't work, I didn't have the network, I didn't have the contacts, I didn't have, I didn't have the skills to market myself, I didn't have the skills to tell my story. I was very much just someone who tried one thing, was really successful at it, but in a sense of a big corporation, that I didn't realize that that how much that backing meant. So I made my first success, and I thought, okay, well, I'm good now. I'm going to go out and conquer the world. Um, it didn't work. It didn't work, and I sort of, for a little while there, I stopped, and I couldn't figure out why it didn't work. So I decided to go back and get another job. Luckily, that was still an option for me. I got a job with quite a big organization called Bauer Media. So I'm sort of back into that entertainment sector. But I think one of the biggest takeaways from that is that I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I thought that things were just going to start happening. I had no plan. I had no vision. I was winging it. And unfortunately, in the world of business, winging can only take you this far. You kind of need to have more of a plan of what you want to achieve, and more of a step by step process of how you're going to do it. And so looking back at it now, I'm grateful I had that experience, because it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about not going into business thinking that everything is going to work. Um, Not going into business thinking that everyone's going to like me, everyone's going to want what I have to offer, but rather actually having a plan, creating a little bit of branding behind me, but a little bit of storytelling and a little bit of you know I guess vision, and putting all of that together, communicating that in the correct way, communicating it to the right people, and then maybe then some of those people might decide to actually buy from you. And certainly when I started the business in 2020, I was going into it with a very different frame of mind, with a very different perspective on how things should operate, how I should approach clients, and how I should talk to them. And so I believe that it was actually the failure back in 2012 that made me successful in 2020, understanding all of those mistakes, and understanding why things didn't work. That sort of helped me plan around what I was going to do the second time around. I tried to start a media business.
Yeah, definitely. Completely agree with that one. So powerful. We learn a lot more through the challenges, through the failures across the journey. And I guess this probably links to coaching and mentoring, right? About getting, assistance from
Mhm.
people around us as well, because we don't necessarily know everything, right? And that. So how important has coaching, mentoring, yeah, been for you in business, in what has helped for you achieve as well?
Oh, absolutely critical. So I suppose, again, going back to 2012, I had no coaching, no mentoring. I didn't even know mentoring was a thing, to be honest. I sort of knew that obviously, you have a mentor in school when you're not doing so well at maths or something. You get a tutor, and they help you out to kind of get up to speed with the rest of the class. But I never really thought about mentoring from a business sense, or something that is ongoing in your life. And that perspective definitely changed a lot through the years. So now I actually get quite a bit of mentoring. I have, I'm signed up to a few business programs. I listen to a lot of audiobooks as well, just purely because that gives you access to people that necessarily you can't have access to as your direct mentors. And I make sure that I have my mental health in check. I sort of, you know, I consider my psychologist as my wellness mentor, just to make sure that everything is well on that part. But yeah, having that support network of people that you can rely on or ask questions from or ask for their opinion is absolutely critical to being able to progress in this world and progress further beyond where you are.
Yeah, definitely. Completely agree. It's definitely taken me to whole new levels, right? The more we invest in ourselves, whether it's from a mindset or from a business perspective, the more, we can grow and help more others and everything from there. So I love that as well. And um, I just want to touch on new technologies, right? Like where it's
Mm-hmm.
evolving with storytelling, because you're seeing things like AI, right, come into it now, and people are cloning themselves. It's getting quite interesting, right? With now, I think that the technology is still a little bit infant, in terms of what it's doing. Where do you see that, like, maybe disrupting things? Is going to be not authentic? Like, what are your thoughts around, these other new technologies and incorporating that storytelling element, to a business?
Yeah, well, AI is certainly a topic that comes up a lot in conversations. And if you asked me this question 12 months ago, my answer would have probably been quite different. So 12 months ago, no one really knew what it was going to do to the world of business and to the world of how we create content and how we communicate with people. Now we've actually got a little bit of data behind it. And I'll tell you a story. I had a client 12 months ago come to me and say that they don't need my services anymore because they're going to use AI to write all of their blogs, to update their social media, and generate all the images that they were going to use on their platforms. And it was actually quite painful for me. It scared me. It made me think, oh shit, am I in the wrong industry? Do I have to pivot now? What do I do? What happens if not one of those clients comes to me, but all of them start coming to me saying that they're going to use AI and they don't need our agency anymore? And look, it didn't happen with all the clients. I know that some of them have played around with AI in the last 12 months. But the interesting thing that happened sort of in the last couple of months is that original client that quit our agency services for AI actually came back. And what they said to me is, as much as AI is very powerful, they've tried to use AI to generate blog content and to generate social media content. But after a few months, it got really, really generic and repetitive that their audiences actually started disconnecting from their channels. And they saw a very big drop in their engagement on social media. They saw a big drop on the engagement on their websites, on how many people read the blogs. And so for me, that was that sort of proof of concept that people will still always connect to people. And so as much as AI is very powerful, and I use AI every day for things like, I don't know, to write public notices about lights being checked at my rental apartment because, well, to be honest, for me to sit down and write out that public notice to tenants is a waste of time. It's a very dry piece of paperwork. So chat GPT, thank you very much. It takes me the whole of 10 seconds. But in terms of the content that you can connect to on an emotional level and actually create some meaning behind, I feel like AI is always going to lag behind because AI doesn't have emotions. And at the end of the day, we connect to each other on an emotional level, on that sort of storytelling perspective. And people will always buy from people. People won't buy from a glossy brand. So you do need that connection. And so for me, I think while AI is definitely going to make things easier for us, and it's actually, as an agency, it has made things easier. We use it for enhancing a lot of the content that we create, but I don't think it will completely replace the authentic content production. And I believe more so going forward, people will actually see more value in the authentic content. They'll see more value in the brands that are going out there and creating that authentic content rather than just relying on AI to, spit out some images or photos or graphics. So yeah, look, I think that there'll always be businesses that go, oh well, AI is the cheap option, and it's clear that it's always going to be the cheap and easy option. But I think the businesses that do go down that path are actually going to suffer in that connectivity perspective and that authenticity perspective.
Yeah, definitely great points there. And yeah, what I share, with my clients is that AI is like, it just builds the foundation for something, right? Like, don't just use that and put it in. You got to then have the skills, ideally yourself, or whether you go to somebody externally like an agency, to be able to adjust that or enhance that. And if you don't have those skills internally, then you're going to have some problems. And like you said, those people unsubscribing and, losing people can definitely happen. So, yeah, love that story. That was really powerful. And so interesting how and it's moving very quickly, AI. We'll see how everything changes in the future as well. But yeah, it's been a very powerful episode. Definitely shared so much gold with us today, Anna. And I guess as we're starting to wrap up, what one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
I think for me, the biggest piece of advice, and it's something that's spoken about in the business world a lot, is actually don't be scared to try things, because if something doesn't work, you can always pivot and change it. But if you don't try it, you're going to sit there, procrastinate for weeks and weeks on end, thinking, would it work? What would happen? Just do it. Just go for it. And look, you're going to end up doing a lot of stuff that might not work or might not give you the success that you wanted. But eventually you'll come to doing something that will actually give you so much more than you ever expected, and that'll be your thing for the next 12 months that you might end up doing, or for the next, I don't know, 5 years, who knows. But I think definitely having that attitude of not being afraid to come up with new ideas and trying new ideas is probably the basis of how I look at business these days, and just test things out and go for it.
Yeah, love that. So true. Completely agree, especially in the marketing sense of testing. And what is it? Thomas Edison over 300 times failed the light bulb. And he just said, I just worked out 300 ways of not to make a light bulb, right? That's the type of thing. And then he worked it out.
Exactly.
So
yeah, exactly. But, he could have been sitting there thinking of the first way for a year, not having done anything, and then still wondering if it would work or not. You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly. So just get it started and fail quicker or challenge quicker, and then you get to your end result where you want to be quicker, which is the most important thing. So yeah, love it. So powerful. And yeah, we connected, through our networks. I learned about your awesome journey from your media background to now being the managing director of Meerkat Creative. Amazing woman, so knowledgeable on storytelling and all these areas around, digital marketing. I'm sure you continue to help, businesses grow through the art of storytelling and digital marketing. Very grateful that we connected and look forward to working with you. So Anna, how can people find you and get in contact with you?
So the best way to find us is obviously on social media and website. So it's meerkatcreative.com.au, or just search Meerkat Creative on Instagram and Facebook. We do post regularly on there with some tips and tricks on useful social media advice. We also share quite a bit about our journey and the journey of our staff, their backgrounds. So there's quite a good bank of interesting content there that you can scroll through and certainly learn from. But apart from that, also just give us a call. If you've got any questions, we're quite friendly. So jump on our website and give us a call, and we'll be more than happy to chat to you about anything content related you might want to think about.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Definitely check out Anna and Meerkat Creative on the website and social media there. And definitely, masters in the art of storytelling and content creation. And it's been a pleasure interviewing you, Anna, and thanks for being on the Business Growth Show.
Pleasure on my end as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Business Growth Show, where we talk about everything on business growth. And please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Ethan Cassiotis, or visit my website, ethancasiotis.com. And if you want to grow and scale your business, you'd reach out to me on any platform to see if we're a good fit. So until next time, remember that our business grows where we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So let's create wealth and freedom together.